What's up, guys? Welcome back to episode 14 of my Bloodborne playthrough. My name is Chris, and I am gonna be running around like a madman today. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually explore old Yharnam a little bit more, because now that Dajura is our friend, we're gonna go check out a little area that we kind of just bypassed, because if we did go through it earlier, we probably would have been shot to death. But since he's our bud, he's our pal, we're gonna take advantage of that and go check out this other area over here in this area that has some lore significance. I think actually very important lore significance, and it kind of validates something about how FromSoft likes to do these things called cycled. Either things keep repeating itself over and over again, and there's no end to them, and your hero seems to, regardless of his choice, it doesn't end the cycle. Like, it either prolongs it and then it's gonna end, or the cycle is just gonna end and start afresh, anew. But it doesn't seem like it solves any problem. I'm wondering if this game's gonna be any different. Are we gonna be able to end the cycle, or are we just gonna do the same thing where our choices really don't matter? We either get to choose to kind of let it go on a little bit longer, or, you know, and I can, like, I'm not gonna say I can already tell that's the way this game's gonna end, but I have a feeling that it's based off some cycles. Now, in the previous games, well, I have to take that back, because Demon Souls was a cycle, because it had to do with an old one, and he did it once. He kind of created this fog or whatever, and he did it the first time, and created all the zombies, and then these things called monumentals, and King Dorian or Doran helped stop it the first time. And then his son or his relative, like from, I forget if it was his son. I think his name was Prince Allant. So, or no, it's King Allant. And I don't remember if it was King Doran's son or if it was like further down the line. But it was his lineage, I'm almost positive. Ends up reawakening the old one to like gain power in the world. Supposedly he was a really good king for a while, and then apparently he just wanted this power, so he reawakened as the old one, and then kind of everything starts over again. And you fight the old one at the end, and spoilers alert, if you haven't played Demon Souls, don't listen anymore. But the old one's like a big tree, and it kind of makes you, when you first fight him, I remember when I was playing the game, I for the longest time I thought the old one was going to be the freaking huge dragon in the trailer, but it ended up not being that dragon. I think that dragon ends up being an ancient dragon or something like that in that game. But that game had cycles too. Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2 were based off a cycle off of each other. So Dark Souls 1 apparently happened before Dark Souls 2, and Dark Souls 2 is just the cycle off of whatever you chose in Dark Souls 1, which doesn't matter. So whatever you chose in Dark Souls 1 creates Dark Souls 2. But Dark Souls 2 supposedly happens like thousands of years, you know, thousands of years after Dark Souls 1. And it's all about this flame, about these souls, these great souls, and stuff like that, and how everything just kind of repeats itself over and over again. This note right here says, the red moon hangs low and beasts rule the streets. Are we left no other choice than to burn it all to cinders? So this is the note I'm talking about. How FromSoft and the writers or this team likes to do these cycles of things. Now sometimes it's not a very big cycle, and we'll look at actually I don't look at the charred armor in this playthrough. I forgot to look at it, surprisingly. It shows how tired I was when I was playing this game, because you're gonna see later how horrible I start playing. But back to the cycle stuff. It just shows that the red moon hanging will happen once, and when it happened, that's how old Yharnam got burnt down. So the tragedy that we've been hearing throughout the game at old Yharnam has to do with someone waking up a great one, or someone not necessarily waking it. Wow, those textures popped in. I just noticed that happened. As you can see, if you piss off Jura, he'll if he sees you kill him, he'll get pissed off at you, because I was killing all of them in the building and he didn't seem to care. But the minute I came out and hit that one, he was like, oh shit, you know, I'm going after you. Look at that pebble in the upper left hand corner. We're gonna talk about that pebble here in a minute. But we'll talk about that here in a minute. But yeah, so yeah, the cycle stuff, right? It's just it shows it again here. The cycles in this case seem like infant great ones are going to be born over and over again. Maybe that's the purpose of the hunter. I'm thinking right now is to hunt these infant great ones. Ultimately, that's our purpose. It may have not been when we first were created. So Gurman was our first hunter, right? And we know at some time Ludwig had to take over, and he was like, basically they moved from the old ways of the hunters that Gurman created to the ways Ludwig wanted to do it, because they needed to fight bigger beasts. It could be said that Old Yharnam was that tragedy that created that change, because what ends up happening is before this great one created this infant one, and this tragedy was starting to happen with this low-hanging moon, there were beasts, but they weren't like tremendously difficult to kill, right? You needed hunters to kill them, but they weren't anything like, you know, massive or destructive by any means. So all of Old Gurman's techniques would work. However, the tragedy of Old Yharnam happened, and Ludwig was, and that whatever happened during that tragedy, which we still don't know yet, but I'm guessing has to do with maybe the third umbilical cord I found at the old hunters, not the old hunters, the old abandoned workshop, the one that has to do with the hunter's dream and all that stuff. It may have to do with that. That kind of seems like that might have been like the first one before you get any of the other ones, which we get one off Iosefka, but all the ones we might be getting now, or what may seem like we're getting now, might be coming from after Rom and what we do at this time frame. So that's why I think the one you get in the old abandoned workshop is an old umbilical cord from an old time when there was a great one back in the day, right? And that might have been the one that created the first low-hanging moon, or might have come from the birth of the first low-hanging moon. As you'll see at the end of this episode, we fight a boss called the One Reborn. So you'll see that that's supposed to, I guess that's supposed to be what happens when the moon hangs low. And it's just kind of like right now it's speculation, right? I can't say that's what happened to Yharnam. Well, I guess I can, because I just found a note that pretty much said that that's what happened, but I don't, and that we know we can tie from a previous note on like episode 12, I believe, where it says that when that happens, an infant great one is about to be born. So you know, you make that connection there, and really the only speculation I guess I could be making from this is that because of what happened in Old Yharnam is why Ludwig and what he creates is how they end up now fighting the bigger beasts that come about. Because after that they realize that, whoa, wait a minute, whenever this moon thing happens, we're gonna need to fight bigger beasts. At some point, I think it says in an item, and I forget which item, but it says somewhere that the church and its ministers used to back up the hunters, or were like hunters, I guess, companions, or they backed them up, or they paid them, I don't know, like just they were friends, I guess. At one point would be an easy way to just say they were comrades. And at some point, I guess that changes, because it says that once that happened, so that usually infers that it means somewhere down the line it changed. It may have changed because the hunters realized what the church was actually doing, and that maybe they were the ones creating these infant great ones, and that they wanted they were creating them for a specific reason. Whether, I don't know if it's for them to gain their own power with it, or was it because they want those cords, and that's why they like the hunters doing what they did. But the hunters were kind of in the not know. They didn't know that's what was going on. And then maybe once they found out what was going on, things kind of all went to shit. And maybe that's why we're in the state of the world we're in today. Again, that's pure speculation. You can take that, think about it in a way you want to think about it, and try to come up with something better, something that makes more sense, or maybe find clues that say whatever you want to say is correct. But right now, I'm just like thinking out of my head, like I said, what is the time frame? Like, how did these things happen? What are the events flow? Because sometimes that helps you kind of think of things through a little bit. So we go back. Old Yharnam happened, right? Because a great infant, and let's just say a great one was born, right? And that's what happened at Old Yharnam. The moon went low, and all of a sudden, the moon went red and low, and all of a sudden the people in Old Yharnam started turning into beasts, and some of them were turning into really hideous beasts. Gehrman's old techniques wouldn't work anymore, so Ludwig, either Ludwig at that time created something to fight these guys, and they needed a new church, and he helped do it, or they burned Old Yharnam, and then Ludwig was like, and then the church and Ludwig and the hunters were like, we need to figure out a way to make sure this doesn't happen again, and you hunters need to become better and stronger, so you need weapons that you can fight bigger and better beasts, right? If that's the case, then the church is helping them fight these things, and if the church is also the ones creating them, then there's a reason why they want them dead, and it might be because of these great relics. So if we really think of it that way, we go back to the old adage where we go all the way back to Willam and Lawrence, and we also know Gehrman was at this time alive. And remember, Willam was like telling Lawrence before he left, hey, remember the old adage, just remember it. And Lawrence seemed to imply that he understood, to fear the old blood. Maybe that was his purpose, was that he was using the old blood, and he wanted to use it to, grow these infant Great Ones so that he could kill them and then gain their insight by destroying them, right? That might have been his plan. So instead of fearing the old ones, he wanted to kill the old ones, and to do that, though, he needed to use the blood and to create, whatever he needed for that purpose. I don't know. A lot of this is like, there's a lot of holes in this theory. I know it. That's why I'm just trying to think things through as I'm going through this video. And the reason why I'm starting to think about this stuff, and I'm not really talking too much about what's going on in the video, is because, one, there isn't much that goes on in this video besides me dying a lot. And then, two, it's just a time for me, I think now, after that midpoint happened, is kind of the time to think and try to get my thoughts in order, so that I can come up with something that makes sense, right? Because in the end, everything I'm saying right now may be scratched. I may use some of the stuff I'm finding, because there's still a lot of this game where there's a lot of lore, I think, still left to look for. We're not near the end. Like I said, at the end of this one, we fight a thing called the One Reborn, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. Just think of the word reborn. It means that he's tried to be born already once, and something happened, and now he's being reborn again for some reason or not. Basically, it seems like it took place after we stopped Rom, so maybe Rom was put in place to stop him from being born again, but who put him in place? I'm still like very confused about why Willam wanted you to go kill Rom. Like, I want a good answer to it, and I just can't think of like anything. Right there, I noticed there's a hole in the elevator, so I was like, I gotta check that back when I get there. And then I realized this is that shortcut from the beginning, which is awesome. So we unlocked that shortcut. Super good shortcut, actually. When you actually go through that hole in the elevator, it's a very, very good shortcut, because it ends up leading pretty much directly to the boss. You could actually right now just run to the boss without really fighting any more enemies. But I decided that I need to die some more, so that's what ends up happening. But yeah, so what is with Willam and Rom? I think I've been talking about him like the last 3 episodes, and it's just because he keeps bugging me, and it's bugging my mind. And it's fun to think about. Don't get me wrong. I like trying to put this puzzle together. It's just very, very strange that if Rom was the creation of Byrgenwerth or the creation of Willam, then he would want you to kill it. Again, like I said, it might be because he thinks you're, like, it's a twofold thing. Like, he's like, if you're good enough, you'll kill it, and then you'll be able to stop the One Reborn if you can kill Rom, because he is a Great One. So if you're able to kill Rom, the Great One, you should be able to handle an infant Great One. Maybe that's his thinking. And then he's like, well, if you can't kill Rom, then that's the end of that, and come back when you can. Does he know that you're part of the Hunter's Dream too, is another thing. Like, if you know they're part of the Hunter's Dream, then you know that's why they keep getting brought back into the world. I think on the Hunter's Mark, it talks about when you use the Hunter's Mark, and remember, the Hunter's Mark is a lot like the Dark Sign from the previous games. You basically use it and you teleport back to, does it say you teleport? I'm trying to remember if you teleport back to the Hunter's Dream or if you teleport back to your last lamp, but One or the other happens, but the item says that it's like you wake up from a bad dream, like you've just woken up from a bad dream. So every time you die, is it like, that's why the world refreshes? That scared the shit out of me. When like every time you die, the world is refreshing, because it's like the dream is starting over again for you, but you're able to come back at certain places, because the hunter's dream is kind of the, like I said before, like the axis money, it's the connection. So really, the hunter's dream is your actual state of, like, I don't want to say state of consciousness, because it's a dream too, but it's kind of like the outer dream. And we're gonna go super Inception here. It's like the first stage of the dream, and then Yharnam would be like the second stage of the dream. So that anytime you die, you go back to the first stage of the dream, and then you're able to go back into Yharnam, which kind of resets the dream. But since you have like a place to save it, you know, you're back in. This is totally Inception. I'm like totally making this up on the spot, by the way. So that's why it's very. I'm like laughing when I'm thinking of it, because it's like super. It's super Inception like. But it kind of makes sense, because like if the first dream is kind of saving your state of where you're at in Yharnam, that's why you're able to go back and get your blood echoes and stuff like that, because it's all based off of the hunter's dream and the echoes and things like that. But Yharnam is a different plane, we can call it too, or a dream, and whenever you die, it keeps resetting. So, you know, that's kind of what the hunter marks make me think this world is like, because it says it's like you wake up from a bad dream, or you're waking up from a dream. The very first cutscene is also very strange. I was actually looking back at it, and it's just so weird, because you don't really know where you're at. You know you're in Yharnam, you know you're in Iosefka's clinic at that time, but what time are you at? Are you in like the real world? But the guy that gives you all the blood, and he says, I'm giving you Yharnam blood, he has bandages over his eyes. So, and then remember, there's an extra blue guy in her clinic that we didn't send anyone over there, and it couldn't be anybody else. And the only other person I know of in the clinic, other than Iosefka, potentially, is the old guy in the wheelchair. So, and then you do get pungent beast vials, or whatever it's called, blood vials, things that attract the beast, and you get those. So that might tell me that guy was the hunter in the wheelchair. Could it be? I mean, that's a good guess, I think, but there's nothing that says that for sure. So that's one of the guys, and then Iosefka is the other one, another blue guy. If you don't send anyone over there, those are two you get. You send more people over there, you get other alien dudes. In fact, I believe if you send one other person, well, I think, yeah, as you send people, it adds to that. But if you send that beast guy from the woods, I think the minute you send him there, he kills someone, like right off the bat. And I don't know if there's a set list or order that he goes through in the AI, but I think like the first one, if you send it to the clinic, he kills the guy in the wheelchair. So you may, like, if you send him there, you may never notice that the wheelchair guy was the one that's there. If that's true, that means the beginning of the game is you actually in Yharnam, like the dream state already, and he's giving you Yharnam blood. Remember, like, you don't have it before he gives it to you. So before all this happens, you don't have Yharnam blood, and he's the one that gives it to you at the beginning. And he says it. He's like, I'm giving you. He's like, you need a little bit of Yharnam blood. So he gives you the blood administration and gives you some of that blood. And that's probably why you have beasthood in you, and what's going on with that. Now, what you are before that is unknown, and you know, supposedly you've lost your memory, and you have no idea who you are. You do kind of talk to NPCs as you go through the game, but you don't ever hear your guys speak. And you notice this mostly with Gilbert when you're talking to him, because it sounds like you're asking him what a pale blood is. Where can I find a pale blood? Can I figure out what a pale blood? You know, it seems like you're asking him that kind of question. And he's kind of like, you know, I've never heard of it. I'm a foreigner too. I just got this blood administration to heal myself, and then it looks like he just went to hide. Unlike you, who seems to like kind of take up arms and decides, I guess, to fight. But the way the beginning of the game kind of works out, it seems like you get this blood transfusion, then you kind of walk through the clinic, and all of a sudden you see this werewolf, and you have two choices. You can run from it, obviously, and try to survive, which you can do, or I think the game really wants you to die from it, right? And then what happens when you die is you wake up in the dream, the hunter's dream. Is that because you're chosen? Is that why that happens? For some reason you're chosen, and why are you chosen, right? Is it because you're a pale blood? Or it says to seek the pale blood. So does that necessarily mean you are, or what? Now the word pale blood is very interesting, because when I first heard the word pale blood, I thought white blood. But in reality, that's not necessarily what that means, because the word pale doesn't mean white. It means loss of color is really what it means. Or it means weak. Think of like you pale in comparison to this person, right? In other words, you are nothing like this person. You're weaker than this person. So you could take it as two ways. It could be either weak blood, or it can be lighter colored blood, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean white blood, which is what I think a lot of people infer right off the bat. And I was the same way. I heard pale blood, and I inferred immediately that it's white blood, or it could even be clear blood, or whatever you want to say. And that's may not be necessarily true. Like I said, it may just be lighter blood. And when you look at Iosefka's vial, her blood is like yellow, right? Is that what they mean by pale blood? It's like a lighter red color. If you look at the moon, when it says like pale blood sky and stuff like that, why is it a pale blood sky? Well, when you look at the moon, it's red, right? Pretty much, but it's not a dark red. It's not a blood red. It's more like an orange red. So is that what they're talking about? I don't know, or are they talking about that it's a weak blood sky? And what do they mean by weak blood? Seek the person with the weak blood. I like the word weak better than the word pale, better than the word of lots of color. It just kind of makes more sense to me. So you're looking for the weak-blooded, which to me means either you're looking for the infant great ones to kill, because they wouldn't be great yet. They'd still be small they're little puppy dogs compared to the full-grown versions. So are they considered the weak-blooded, right? Are they considered pale blood, or is there something else considered pale blood? Or are they trying to tell you that the beasts are the pale blood, and that because they're the weak versions, and they want you to hunt those? But that wouldn't make sense, because hunting beasts wouldn't end the night. Well, maybe it is said sometimes that's some of them seem to say that, but it's weird, because it's seek blood, or else, and then the thing behind in the hunter's dream, you see the note, and it tells you that this scourge or this night will go on forever if you don't find the pale blood. If I remember, that's what that note says. So something like that. And it's this pale blood thing is interesting too. And I think I like the way to look at it, instead of thinking of it as white blood, thinking of it as a lighter color red, or weak. It's a weak blood. It's not strong. And so far we've heard a potent medium, like Iadon's blood is a potent medium of blood, and that's what really I think the church started with in Byrgenwerth, or Byrgenwerth started with, or somewhere that came from. I think the church, because they based their whole religion off of him so far. At least the part of the church we've seen so far. I don't know if they've been messing with other things, because we just found out in last episode that the choir and the School of Menses make up the top versions of the church. So do like the lower members, like, are there like, think of it as like, are there different like saints in this church, or they could be very Greek-like, where there's different gods that the different levels of the church may believe in. That looked like a window I could talk to. That's why I was like over there. But what, like, so the church began, with Adon, right? And then the higher echelons were like, hey, we know a little bit more about the labyrinth. We've been studying the stuff at Byrgenwerth that we're not supposed to be studying, and we know a lot more about the labyrinths and what's down there. So they could be completely believing in something else, and that might explain the School of Mensis, and then the Unseen Village. And what are they trying to do? Now, what they're doing in the Unseen Village here is, it looks like they're sacrificing people to either create a great one, or to get the moon to come down, right? At first I thought it was they were doing these rituals and whatnot to bring the moon down, but when you fight this One Reborn, and you see some of the enemies in this area, a lot of them are built from body parts of people, and it's very, very creepy and very horrific. and it's just showing you, I think, that the sacrifice and all that stuff that they were doing to the people here, all the experimentation, however they did it, right? We know that there has to be some kind of sacrifice, because we see those little cages on people's head everywhere, so that's some form of like torture or sacrifice to these people. But also we don't know what other stuff they were doing, what other rituals, but whatever they're doing, they were trying to summon the I believe the what I would say the One Reborn at first, and maybe someone killed it a long time ago, and now they're doing it again to create the One Reborn. And like you see this right here, this horrific monster in front of us. It has like parts of different bodies sticking out of them. That's kind of the way they created this. Now, where they get this idea on how to do this is beyond me, because you have these people sacrificing humans to create great ones. You got Willam, who's saying, I need eyeballs on my brain to become a great one. The only difference is Willam wants to be a great one, and the church wants to bring in a great one. Like, it doesn't seem like they want to be it. It seems more like they want to summon one. Again, is it because they are being told to by something else? Is it because they want the cool relics that you get from it, the power that you can get from killing these guys? I don't know, because the whole game, as we kill these and we get more and more blood echoes, the more and more powerful we're getting, the more and more stronger we get. So is that the church's? Is that what the church wants? Is that what they're after? What's their end game? You know, and I don't know if we're gonna find that out going through this area, or maybe we'll find out in the next area, or maybe one of the secret areas or something may show us a little bit more about what their thoughts were, and how buddy were the School of Mensis and the choir. You know, the School of Mensis is in a whole different village, and the choir had pretty much stayed in the cathedral area. Does that mean, I mean, maybe they are working towards the same goal, or do they think they have different answers to the same goal? So that's why one kind of came out here. And maybe that's why Yarhar'gul was over here, he was, like I said, spying. Yesterday I kind of, well, you saw the episode yesterday, the other day, about what I think happened, and I was like, well, maybe they were working together. But then I thought about it some more, and I was like, that doesn't, just because they're both part of the same thing doesn't mean that they agree on the same stuff, right? Think of like the U.S. government. We have a republic, and we have the Republicans and the Democrats. And even though they both are in the same thing, right, they're both in the U.S. government, they both don't have the same ideas or ideology. So it could be something like that, where the School of Mensis was like, no, we need to kill people to get a great one to be summoned. And then the church or the choir was like, maybe not. Maybe we don't have to. Maybe we got to delve into the blood some more. Who knows, right? We don't have anything that really gives note to that, except that we do know that the upper echelons of the church were created by two groups. You got the School of Mensis from the Unseen Village, and the choir from the upper parts. They basically were from the cathedral. We got that key, so that's something we know that we can go investigate later and check out. And we're going to do that, but not right off the bat. We're going to go fight this One Reborn. Now, I told you to remember, look at the pebble, and I still have it up there equipped on my bar. And if you look at it, look at the image again real closely, that freaking thing is an eyeball. That pebble is an eyeball that looks like it's just kind of hardened over time and turned into a pebble. And they're like, and what's cool is in the description, it says these are found all over Yharnam. It basically just says that. It's like, these are found all over Yharnam. And they're about, to me, they look like they're about the size of like a human eyeball, right? Might explain why everyone's freaking blind in Yharnam. Might explain why there's so many people that have covers and wraps and missing eyeballs in this city. But now why have they fallen out? Or why have they hardened? So that probably proves that it's been a long time since most of the citizens have gone, or you know, that kind of thing. We can kind of infer that, but really, why eyeballs? Like, it's just interesting. It might be just kind of a joke from FromSoft, just to kind of like get you to laugh, maybe have no lore significance, but it seems like it has a little bit, because there are a bunch of the beasts and stuff you see. I get stuck right there. You see that shit? The bunch of the beasts and stuff you see have their eyes covered, and we don't really get to see what happened to it. The vicar had her eyes covered with like her hood, and then when she became a beast, it still was like that. I believe the cleric beast was the same way, but then Papa Gas, he had bandages, what looked like over his eyes, and then the hunter, the old man in the wheelchair at the very beginning of the game, who gives us our blood transfusion, he also looked like he had bandages over his eyes. So, to me, bandages, you could find a better way to cover your eyeballs other than just straight bandages. This is a quick shortcut right here. If you just drop down that ladder and then you just run straight to your left, you'll get to the boss right away. You don't have to fight all these things. These things are annoying right here. When I first saw these things, they kind of reminded me like what the game wanted the mimics to be, but then I think they were just like, they're too big, or maybe fit in a chest or something, or they wanted something to do different, and they just decided not to put mimics in the game, so they were just like, well, we'll just make a regular enemy in this area. They take everywhere when you were here earlier in the game, if you got kidnapped, they take the spot of wherever there was a pig. So things have transformed over time in this area. After you kill Rom, it seems like shit went downhill real fast, and that might be because of the emergence of the moon getting lower, and that could be the reason behind it. Now, what I'm finding real interesting is these depictions of people, and they look like they're running from something, right? All their backs are facing in one direction, and that's the direction you're going in, and it seems like they're trying to get away from everything. Now, I don't think these are sculptures. I don't think this is how this building was created or how this wall was created. It really looks like at one time something, you know, maybe when the One Reborn first came, this city, this happened. But what made it so that they got petrified into the stone? I don't know. Maybe some great power can do that. And it just instantly pushed them in there or something. Who knows? Like, I don't know. I can't explain it, but that's what it looks like. And again, this whole city is just massacred. It's very, very gruesome when you look at it, in the essence that all these things are made from body parts and arms and limbs and heads and things like that. And I'm just really looking at this architecture and just looking at these people just like trying to climb this building, like they're trying to get away from something really fast. And then down when you start walking towards the boss, you see an area against all the walls. There's some that are like trying to climb the wall, but then there's some that are just on their knees and it looks like they've given up. And it's really kind of, when you start really looking at it, you're like, wow, this is kind of really powerful imagery. And the real question is, you know, what is it, you know? And well, we kind of can infer that we already know that it's going to be the Great One of whatever these guys are summoning that are causing these people to clamor to their lives and trying to just get away. It's just, what really interests me is why they're melted into the architecture. That's what really gets to me. Like, it'd be one thing if they were all lined up against it and it looked like they were climbing it, but they're like melted into it, and that's the part that I'm just like, what could cause that? What could cause them to be part of the architecture of what happened? Like right here is a really good like picture of all of it going on. Very creepy. And it's just showing you maybe the power of the Great One, or maybe it's showing you the power of the one that was reborn the first time, of how strong it actually was. See the ones on the ground kneeling that just kind of look like they gave up, or you know, they're just like almost like they're praying. Like it's just very crazy. So whatever was here before, maybe it's trying to show how powerful that was, and how it was almost like the minute it showed up, everybody freaked out, and then they just got instantly like petrified into stone, and they became part like that. That's just crazy. So it's just very, and you can see the little hat on the one guy over here. Just interesting to look at and figure out. It's very environmental building on you when you enter this area. Very cool. So let's watch this cutscene real quick. It's very interesting. So there's the red moon. Look, it's not red, right? It's pale. It's pale red. So, you know, there you go. That's a pale blood sky, or pale sky, or whatever they called it earlier. And you can infer that maybe the infant Great Ones are pale bloods, right? Because they are not fully grown yet, so they're not they're not, how can you say, like, they're not a great one yet, you know. And what makes them infant? Is it because they're babies? Like, are they actual babies, or is it because they're just young, or they're not fully built yet? You know what I'm saying? Is it because they're part great one, they're not 100% great one yet? Because if you look at this guy, I would never pray to this thing. I would never want to summon this thing either. So to me, it looks like it's undone, right? It's not like it's finished yet. Like, I've disturbed it before it was able to finish, or some sort. So I'm fighting kind of something that's not complete, 100% complete. And get a good look of the way it looks. It's got like this main dude, and it's made of human parts, which is the other crazy part, which is why I think a lot of what they're doing here is the reason why it shoots body parts at you. It's crazy, this monster. And again, it's called the One Reborn. So did we stop it, or were we able to stop it? And is that what our purpose was right here? Was to get to it beforehand and destroy it? And then if so, is that the end of the game, right? I mean, we killed the Playboy. I was gonna say we killed the Playboy. What is on my mind? We killed the Pale Blood. So that's what we were supposed to seek. Is there something further on? Or is a Pale Blood a type of great one and not necessarily mean weak? Is it just because that's the color of the blood of that great one? There's a lot of things that just could be inferred to that, and you just don't know yet. I'm pretty sure the game doesn't end after this, because after this, looks like there's more areas, and you look like you're about to go into it. So I don't think you can actually end the game after killing him. Maybe it's because you're kind of like, what created it, or what great one exists past this that I need to take out so it doesn't ever happen again. You know, what is the reason behind it? There's nothing that tells you to keep going though. So it's kind of like just inferred that you need to keep going and figuring out this problem. You haven't seeked the Pale Blood yet. I'm not 100% sure, and it might be because partly after you kill him, nothing really changes in the sky. Everything stays the same. So maybe you got to kill the source of him, and that's the whole reasoning behind it. And that's why you got to go and keep going until you get to that source. So it's just very interesting. As you notice, I died, and I'm really right now just showing you the run back. You can take this bath and then run up here, and you don't have to fight these guys, but sometimes they'll follow you down the ladder. The lady will just drop down, so just be careful of that. But this boss actually, to me, it doesn't seem like it was a hard boss. I was having like a rough day in this game, and I actually fought it, I think, about 6 or 7 times until I finally beat it. And I actually, like, after the second to last time I stopped playing, I walked away for like 30 minutes, and I came back, and then I beat him the next try. Again, that's like one of my biggest tips about these games, is just walk away from it for a little bit, come back in like 30 minutes, and even like 30 minutes, even like 10 minutes, 15 minutes maybe even, will help you just defeat the guy. It just helps kind of let your brain get away from that. So I think this is, I think this one I fail again. Because I was trying a different tactic where I think I wanted to use the cannon on it, and I walked right past my blood souls right there. I don't know what I'm thinking when I did that, because I think I lost like 20 or 30,000 souls by not picking that up and continuing on. At the end of this though, I do end up with a lot because of how many times I had to keep going through here, and each one of those ladies gives you like 900, and so you do it. There's 6 of them. Just do the math. You can actually farm up a lot of souls just by repeatedly doing this boss over and over again, as long as you keep collecting your souls every time you come back through. So what my biggest tips for this boss would be when you're fighting it is, first of all, take these guys out. And if you ever played Demon Souls, this boss is very, the minute I walked in here, I saw the maiden chime, I was like, this boss reminds me of one of the bosses from the Demon Souls. It's the night boss from Demon Souls. If you remember, you had, like, I believe there were archers or mages, I don't remember, it was one or the other, that stood up on ledges, and it's very similar to, very similar to this fight, in fact. And you basically had to, what I remember in that game is you had to take out those guys first before you took out the knight. I think there were some strategies where you could just take out the knight, but I remember distinctly taking out the archers first and then going and taking down the knight. So that's kind of what my idea was here, was I need to take out these ladies. If you don't take them out, they do shoot fireballs, and one of them, I just went up to the boss and started fighting it to see if that made any difference, and you will get wrecked relatively quickly. If you leave one alive, you'll probably be alright, especially since it's really easy to knock them off the ledge here. But if you can try to kill them all, and then you won't have to worry about fireballs and other things like that, and then you can concentrate on the boss. So once you get to that point, the boss has a couple of ranged attacks. Most of them deal with throwing bodies at you, and they do pretty good damage. There's no status effect to them, not in, at least in regular game. I don't know about New Game Plus, but to me it would make sense if they did throw like poison on it or something like that, but it might not be true. I haven't looked it up, so I wouldn't know. But right here, like I said, I'm trying to shoot him with my cannon from up top. That attack right there, when you're up top, if he hits you with that hand, you are going to be hurting real bad, because he usually swipes one way and brings it back the other, and you get hit twice by it. And if you're not high enough level, or you don't have high enough HP, it could probably one-shot you. So just be very careful of that. That's what happened to me right there. And I was trying to use the bone marrow ash and shooting my cannon to see how much damage I could do. I wasn't able to do it from up there. I kept hitting the ground. I'm not saying you're not able to do it. There's probably a very good way of being able to do that. But I was just failing at it, so I scratched that idea. On this one, you'll see me, and I decide to go straight up on him right after I take out the maidens. And the key is when you actually fight him. So once you get done taking out the maidens, go down to his level, and he has a midsection where he has like this set of legs, and you'll see me attacking it throughout the video. It looks like pudding, just slimy. And if you set yourself in between the front set and the back set of the little legs that are on just that part of his body, you can do some pretty good damage there, and you're decently safe. Because what usually hits you there is those two legs I was just talking about. Usually are the ones tapping you, and they don't do a ton of damage. In fact, if you keep hitting him, and if you have a pretty good heavy weapon like the axe that I have, you actually can heal most of that back. So there's his two big front legs, and then you'll see the two small legs right here that I'm at right now, and I kind of sit myself in between. What you got to watch out for is that. So that's one of the things. He does like a corpse drops on you, and it does crazy amounts of damage, so just be careful of that. But you really don't have to watch out for the legs. See how they're going crazy? I kind of was like, screw it, I can go in there and attack. If those even touch you, it doesn't even do that much damage. Now after a certain amount of damage, you knock them down like this, and I don't know if I was able to get I don't know if you're able to get a visceral attack or not on that side. You may have to go to the other side, and you may be able to get one there, but I'm not 100% sure if you can get a visceral. What I did was I pulled out the cannon, used the bone marrow mash, and tried to shoot his upper torso. That upper torso part, the body part, takes a lot of damage. So if you it takes a lot of damage. In other words, when you hit it, you'll do a lot of damage to the monster. So when you knock them down, that's a good place to aim for. You can usually, I wasn't able to knock him down twice. I think that's probably about what you can do. Maybe some people get 3 times. That attack right there will instantly kill you. So when you hear, there's a distinctive sound when that attack goes off, and it's like a pitch that keeps getting higher. If you hear that, just run away. You can actually hit the backside of his body without getting hit by that attack. So if you stay on the backside of his body instead of in between the legs, you won't ever get hit by that thing. Just stay away from that top of the body. Now, if you notice, when I started railing on his body, he took a lot of damage. So that's kind of the key, and that would be my key to this fight, is just stay in between those legs, attack that sludgy part on the middle, and then just keep doing that. Go in and then go out. Like if you see me throughout this fight, I do like 2 attacks and then I run out. Then I do 2 attacks and then I run out. There's kind of a rhythm to it, and overall he's not super hard. I don't think. You can make it harder, I think, than what it is, and that's kind of what I was doing at the beginning when I was beating him. To me, he doesn't seem like he'd be too big of a boss fight. Rom and Bloodstar Beast seem to be way tougher than him, but so that's kind of that boss. It's not, so like I said, it's not too difficult. I think he's more meant to seem menacing than anything, and if you definitely play Dark Souls or Demon Souls, you'll know. So you get the yellow backbone. It says special body parts collected by the Healing Church. What was this gruesome bait used to lure? The additional rotted offering beckons ungodly forces, normally terrifying things, but also worthy prey for a special hunt. It's a very interesting item, because that kind of is what makes me think the church is doing these things to lure these things out so you can kill them, because they want them. There's a reasoning behind it, or they're luring them out so they can get great ones to come out or something. Now it said the ritual rotted offerings, which is what I think is going on in this place, and I think that's why you kind of get this item here, and you get it off that boss. If you're getting a thing called rotted offerings, and it's just it's a very interesting item, and it kind of shows that the church is doing something a little bit more than what has kind of been told this whole time. But guys, with that, I am done with this episode. Sorry if I sounded super tired. It's because I just got off of work. But I tried my best. Thanks for watching, guys. I really do appreciate it. I will definitely see y'all next time, and hopefully got some good stuff to talk about. Later.